Rob Huebert, Director of the Centre for Military, Security and Strategic Studies at the University of Calgary, joins us now. Robert, good evening and thanks for your time. You have done extensive research on Arctic sovereignty and security. Now, we heard from officials from Denmark and Greenland today after their meeting with the US saying that there are fundamental differences. What's your read with all the tension that's going on?
Well, it's one of the most bizarre self-created stab at yourself in your foot creation that the American administration is engaged upon. You know, you listen to the American, you listen to Trump saying he absolutely will seize Greenland in order to defend against the Chinese and the Russians. And in fact, his very actions of the way that he is causing such a rift between the United States and Denmark and the other European NATO allies is playing right into the Russians and Chinese hands. So it's a really bizarre situation watching him make that claim and then take actions that really weaken NATO overall.
Rob, what do we know about the buildup of Russian and Chinese ships in that area, as President Trump has been saying? Because we've also learned today that Denmark and Greenland are planning to beef up their military presence in Greenland. So what can you share with us?
Well, the Russians have been rebuilding their military capability on an offensive basis since about 2007, 2008. This isn't a surprise. They started long-range bomber patrols. They went around Iceland, Greenland around this time. So this has been an ongoing process. And this is part of the reason why NATO nations, in fact, have been so willing to engage on the 3.5 plus 1.5 increase, is that this is a long-term trend issue. And this is precisely what Canada has been saying that it's going to be responding to, and it talks about NORAD modernization. We've heard from American leaders for a long time that this is coming, and they have taken action to respond. This isn't something that suddenly just appeared overnight. And so this is another bizarre part of Trump, just all of a sudden fixating on a problem that has long-term been there, but also has been responded by the Nordic NATO countries. This is why this whole problem is just being exacerbated by the actions of Trump.
And Rob, why do you think? We know that Greenland, of course, there is a base that the U.S. has over there. There are U.S. troops on the ground in Greenland. If the U.S. wants, they can go ahead, increase the number of troops with the agreement they have with Denmark already. Why do you think that is not really an option for Donald Trump, but he wants to, quote unquote, acquire or control, or some even suggesting conquer Greenland?
Well, that's the part that doesn't make sense. I mean, it was the Americans that moved in and took over Greenland following the German defeat of Denmark back in the Second World War. They were basically the country that took care of it. And from 1951 onward, the Danish government, along with the Greenlandic Home Rule, have been in complete lockstep with the Americans. You want to expand the base? We'll expand it. You want to change it from a surveillance base into a space station? We'll do it. So, I mean, it's to the point that we know in 1968, the Americans had an accident where they lost a B-52, and we know for certain that there were nuclear bombs that were being stored on Greenlandic territory because of that Broken Arrow incident. So, I mean, again, they've given the Americans everything that they would want, but they get it with goodwill up until Trump comes along.
Wow. Okay. Well, of course, we'll be watching all that unfolds in the next few days. But for the moment, Rob Huebert, appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
My pleasure.